Hello, everybody, and welcome into another exciting episode of Bloody Good Horror. My name's Eric, and this evening we will be reviewing the first Omen. It's like a prequel to that movie, The Omen. That's what
there
we're
were
talking
no
about
other
today.
Omens before this one.
No, the first one. They made it all the way to the year 1980, whatever, John. No Omens
71,
before that.
71.
Yeah.
Come on.
Which seems maybe questionable. But joining me tonight, first up from the Bay Area of San Francisco, 2 weeks in a row. We're so lucky. Please welcome Matilda back to the show.
Hey, nice to see you all.
Next up tonight from Manhattan, New York City. We have to see him every week. Please welcome John Schnars to the show.
Hey.
Got him this close pre-show to agreeing to a Black Phillip tattoo, so fingers crossed. And last up tonight, from Indiana, I think we could probably talk him into a Black Phillip tattoo pretty easily. Let's welcome Casey to the show.
Yeah, twist my arm.
Yeah. We're here, John.
We made it.
The first Omen. We didn't do this at the time it came out. I feel like we were in the minority. We chose to go with what's that other one? The other nun movie.
Immaculate.
Immaculate.
They came out back to back, right?
Camps formed.
Well,
I
didn't
would
this
love a
come out
book.
Horror Hound weekend?
It might have. That could be it.
I would love a book about just like at some point the production people in these two movies knew about each other. Like they're not exactly the same, but they're not the same.
There's some crossover.
Yeah.
There's a reason. Yeah.
There's a lot.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get into it. Let's take a quick break and review the first Omen.
Ooh.
Wrong music.
I'm still here.
I was the only one that was going to say something.
There's big break in TV. Stop the prime time. Main feature.
I will say, John, and I'll leave this out of the review. I'll pull it for this section. But I got a big problem with getting teased by Charles Dance. Don't tease me with Charles
Totally
Dance,
agree.
the greatest living British actor on earth, and then don't give me more of him.
Strong
Yeah.
agree.
I was hoping that maybe that was like a flash forward, but no, he's just in the movie for 90 seconds. Pretty sweet scene, but still.
Well, and I had looked at the IMDb, and he shows up. He's like, when you're looking visually at the actors, he's at the very top. Now, I guess maybe they were in order of appearance. I don't know, but
He makes everything better.
upsetting. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like Game of Thrones got palpably worse when he was gone.
Wow.
I mean, that's
It
also
was
when they diverged from the books, so it was real
the
bad timing all around.
Sure.
But yeah. All right, John, speaking of books, please bring us the word of the day. I said that segue, John, because books usually have words in them.
It was a strange segue, and I was going to comment on that, but you beat me to it, so good on you. Today's word, Eric, is novitiate. I am pronouncing it the way it is. It says to pronounce it, even though I would say novitiate. Novitiate, the period or state of being a novice, especially in a religious order. It also could be a place housing religious novices, the novitiate. And it comes to us from the French, or all the way, through the medieval Latin, through French. Novitius means new. So,
Tell me about the movie, John.
sure, I would gladly. The first Omen, has mentioned this is just a straight prequel. It is a prequel to the original Omen, I guess, right? Like I can't remember if there are major differences between the remake and this one, but this feels like it's definitely, from what I remember, playing to the original.
Yeah, yes, because they show a photo of who's that? Charles
Gregory Peck.
Gregory Peck. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. There is a I forgot about that.
You know, I never root for this, but I so badly wanted CGI that guy.
Gregory. Yeah.
I
He's
wanted
been
them to
dead for a
Final
long
Destination.
time,
I wanted them to
Yeah.
Final Destination 5 it, honestly.
Or Ghostbusters Afterlife it.
Sure.
He's semi-translucent Gregory Peck walking into the...
But Final
Use the
Destination
Force,
5 is
Damien.
brilliant though because it's like it's not like they did new shit. I'm pretty sure they used like other. Well, anyway, it's not important. John. Final Destination.
Pull
5
up
is
some
cool.
cutting room floor of the original Omen and just
Right.
have them back in
Yeah.
there.
And then just like put our new actors in the shot.
Casey, I know you said you just watched it. So the original Omen is from 1971? Is that the year it was released?
I think so. Or as close
So-
to that, at least.
Yeah, and so this movie is set, and we get a title card that says Rome,
76.
1971. Okay, so it's released in 76. But
Because he's like
Yeah.
a child. He's like a little child in that
Yeah.
first one.
You're right. You're right. He is. He's like 5 or 6. So this movie is basically the run up to that. The main character is a novitiate named Margaret. Margaret is being transferred from a nunnery, I don't know, a place in Massachusetts to Rome. She is going to be at an orphanage slash what are nunnery? What is it called? It's not called a nunnery. It's called
Convent.
a convent.
Convent.
Yeah, but this one is also an orphanage and a school. They have kids. I think they say there's like 60 kids that are sort of running around. She's brought there by the cardinal, whom she knows from the United States. Like he had been over there, and now he's in Rome. And she's just, excited to be in the mix. She pretty quickly meets a troubled youngster named Carlita, and that initiates a lot of the action of the film because Carlita does sort of like crazy drawings, and Margaret connects to her because Margaret had sort of a troubled childhood. She was an orphan herself and was raised in her previous orphanage slash church that she was in. So this is very much like a continuation or an expansion of her life and role in the church. And so she connects to this Carlita who's troubled, being treated, maybe in a standard fashion for 1971 by modern standards. Seems somewhat archaic. There's a lot of like locking her in a room, though they let her draw while she's in the room. So that's, okay. We also see a lot of other sort of like weird stuff going on. Margaret is like having visions. There are the orphanage slash nunnery also serves as a place for women to give birth, unwed mothers. And so she there's a pretty gruesome sequence where she's like witnessing a woman deliver a baby.
Fun story about that sequence, John.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was about to start, and I got a knock on my door because my landlord was showing up to fix my sink. And I was like, I pause it, and I'm like, man, I feel like I should just turn the TV off because this is about to get weird. He does his thing, he leaves, and then I hit play, and immediately it's just like full on lower nudity,
Yeah.
demon hand. Like, it was,
And he was peeking in the window.
Yeah.
What's up, Eric?
Oh, I forgot one thing. What the?
Yeah. I should have mentioned, because we usually talk about this off the top. This is directed by a novitiate herself, Arkasha Stevenson, first feature film. She also co-wrote the screenplay with her writing partner, a guy named Tim Smith. And then there was another, I think there was basically an original script by a guy named Keith Thomas, who actually directed the Firestarter remake, it looks like. Keith Thomas wrote this script, and then I think Arkasha and her writing partner came in, did a rewrite or whatever, what have you, and then she directs. So that's the background there. So just to cut this short, I think Margaret is then approached by Father Brennan, who's played by Ralph Ineson. We were talking about him pre-show. He's the the dad of witch fame. I feel like he had to be in Game of Thrones too, right? Like
I don't think he was.
he's like the one actor
British,
from the
yeah.
UK. He's like looking at his agent. What's up, man?
There was a great Onion article once. It was like Game of Thrones running out of old British actors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's true though. I mean, it's pretty rare you run into these guys at this point. Yeah. So Ralph Ineson plays Father Brennan. Father Brennan has been excommunicated, I think, at the time that he is communicating with Margaret. But he basically starts telling her that there's like a bunch of creepy shit going on. I guess like he more or less does an exposition dump on her that explains
Twice.
everything that's sort of going on.
Twice,
At least,
kinda.
yeah, at least to that point. But he tells her like, "Hey, you got to go get me this file on Carlita," and only once she does that does she realize that there's like a lot of Carlitas, and that Carlita was like created by the church in a pretty in a plot line you might recall from the film Immaculate. So, and then like more crazy shit happens, but we can talk about it as we go.
All right. Casey, what'd you think?
All right. So going into this, I'd seen the Omen once, and it's been a long time, so I'm aware of it. I know what it was about. I'd never seen the sequels or anything, so I was kind of meh going into this. And I started hearing good things. Getting into it and settling into it, finally, I found myself kind of drawn into all the lore and stuff they're building. As I've said before, I'm a big fan of like world building in a movie or especially in a franchise, and I got a lot of that in here. I enjoyed this quite a bit. It's not necessarily a perfect movie, but it was good, and it had some good spooky moments, and I really loved all the Catholicism and the lore that's packed into this. I thought Nell Tiger Lee?
Free, I
Free.
believe.
Sorry. Yes, I thought she was good in this. I was familiar with her from Servant on Apple TV, which is really not that far off from the role that she's playing here, ultimately. But she is really good at that shtick, and I think it played well here. She had kind of a mystified, spooky vibe to her that was interesting, and it kind of draws you in, which was good for the slow pace of this type of movie. You know, she draws you in, and then you get sucked into the background and what's going on, and she's a good entry point for that, and I just think her performance really affected that well. This got me excited enough from the world building that they're set up here. I was curious to see how it met up to Omen, the original, and so I fired that up on Hulu, and it matches up pretty perfectly. So, and getting into that lore and the world building here, going through Omen, I got sucked in and so I kept going because they're all on Hulu now. I watched 2 and 3, finished 3 earlier today. Having gone through all that.
Is 3 the one with young Sam Neill, or is that 4?
Yes, it is. No, that's 3.
3, okay.
I'm told 4 to avoid. For our friends in the cult movie race.
John, do you know
challenge.
the plot of The Omen 3?
No, I have not seen. I don't think I've seen 2 or 3.
Young Sam Neill is like he's working in the White House, or he's the president?
He
or
is the
something?
ambassador to the UK.
Yeah, so he's like it, but it's like all DC sort of. Well, I guess, yeah, maybe the first one is too.
Well, no,
Because
it's
that is the plan is to get Damien into the American political system.
Yeah, 3 is all in the UK, and he has gone into he is the ambassador and he's in control. He has power. 2 is the one that happens in DC. But my point is too, after going through all those and getting all that lore from these other movies to see how it expanded, makes me like the first Omen even more, because I think it adds to that. It makes a really solid franchise for between that and 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to ignore 4 because I've heard it was like made for TV. It involves a little girl, Antichrist, and it's just not very good. Not because she's a little girl. Although there is some lore in here that's uncovered that they're, and I think it was in the first Omen, some of them have bled together a little bit. They have an issue with the female Antichrist.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll get to the end, but yes.
Yeah, so that's it. I'm rambling.
Matilda.
So this was my second watch of this. I saw the first one in the theater, when it came out, and I loved this both times. The first feature film, for this to be the first feature film from this director, feels really ambitious and impressive. And I feel like this is very faithful to 70s religious horror as a movie. Like especially the first two acts of this looked so much like my dad is an Italian American guy and would always have this like 60s and 70s Italian cinema on. I don't ask me what to compare this to because I don't know. It was just kind of like a thing he was watching a lot. Just all of them. But the feel of it, I was like, oh, I could totally swim around in this for a long time. And I feel like in an age of reboots done in the service of making old things like legible to a new audience that's never seen them, this one doesn't feel like that. This one feels actually faithful to the original, and it feels like it cared less about that and stands out of time. I will say, I saw this with Rachel, and when it was over, we turned to each other and went, best pro-choice movie of the year. So I do think there is a kind of thing about why we're getting a lot of movies about church and birth this year. And I think that this one does that very successfully.
Church rape. I mean, just like straight church rape movies.
And, forced birth and other things, right? So, but
All sorts of
I
things.
really like this. I think it works on it kind of like in a Jordan Peele way, like it works just as a piece of the Omen franchise, and I think it also works as a pretty like on other levels as well.
John, what do you think?
I would say I liked, but was a little more lukewarm. I definitely, in some ways, I was probably impacted. Look, having seen this after Immaculate, I think you sort of are going to see one of these first, and the other one.
I think whichever one you see first will surprise you because I think they're both better than you expect them to be.
Yeah,
like,
no,
given what
Yeah.
they
well,
are.
totally. But they're so similar. Like
They're extremely similar.
the
Yeah.
plot line, up to a point. I mean, other than this being an Omen prequel, there's just it's. I think I agree, Matilda. I thought the direction and the sort of like look and feel, I was very surprised that this was a first film. Like I was like, I went and looked. I was like, oh, I wonder who made this. I was like, it has to be a woman. I would have been shocked if it was not a woman.
Yeah.
And then for it to be her first movie, I was like, wow, okay, like that's pretty cool. It's too long for me. I think here's my other thing, and we can get into it to the extent you all want to. I might just like be out on prequels as like a concept.
That's fair.
Well, and look, like we don't need to relitigate all the like Star Wars prequel conversation, which we've had 50 million times, but the concept of a prequel is how it ends. And I think that's like very problematic. This one, I'm watching it the whole time, and I was probably like spending too much time wondering like how we're getting to Damien, and the movie is somewhat hurt by it. I almost like this movie better if it's not called The First Omen and you lose the last 5 minutes.
Yeah, there's a tension problem in it, and it's not even tension so much as like you lose that really wonderful thing when you're in a movie and you don't know where it's going.
You know where this has got to end. I was curious, like, how it was going to end, and then to the point that Casey started to raise, and like we can put a pin in it and come back to it. Like, I mean, I've seen The First Omen a couple times. It's actually like for me a pretty formative film. Like that's shot in The First Omen, which they recreate here, and I was like a little lukewarm on it when the nun at I think it's at his birthday party, jumps off the roof and like hangs herself in the original.
It's at his birthday, yeah.
That
It's not. It's his nanny.
Yeah, sorry. I knew. It was like it was like
But
the
she's
woman,
in on it.
She
She's
was
a
in the
better
house,
lady.
right? And she says like it was all for you. It's all for
It's
you,
all
Damien.
for
Or
you,
it's-
Damien.
Yeah, that shit is like seared in my brain from the first time I saw it.
Yeah,
And so it's
it's a
like
great
such a
scene.
like formative, iconic film. so they like recreate that scene here. It's slightly different, but it's
I thought the self-immolation plus hanging was like putting a hat on a hat.
yeah,
A little bit.
Yeah.
it's right.
Like just come up with some new shit. I don't know. Do we need to do that?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, so like, look, like I agree. I think this is like a very well-made movie.
It'd be hilarious if like that just happened in every Omen movie, and eventually there were conversations like, "Does it seem like a lot of people are hanging themselves at gatherings? Like, what the fuck is going on?" It's like a real epidemic.
You guys might want to hire a party plane.
I can't.
Just a
even know.
suggestion: hide all the ropes before the people show up.
I don't know. I can't remember where I was even building to before I got to the first one. Oh,
Sorry.
well, the way that this ends, it's sort of my concern now is they're gonna like remake the Omen again using this as the end point, or maybe they've
already took like two of the best scare scenes out because they copy the thing at the beginning too with a little rope-a-dope where the stained glass decapitates.
Oh yeah,
that guy.
yeah.
That was kind of effective. I liked
Good scene.
because it subverts your expectations of what's going to happen, whereas the hanging scene was more like, and then we did this. Like,
Yeah.
I was like, all right.
No, but my point, like the way this movie ends, the very last scene, and you see the mom and as Casey mentioned, the female, the twin. I'm sort of like, where are they going with that? I mean, maybe nowhere now because like this movie didn't perform super great, and so like maybe it's kind of just like gonna go back on the shelf for a little while. But I don't know. I had a good time. It was too long, and I don't know if I like prequels as a general concept. That's where I'm at.
I think I'm a schnorrs tonight. It's so much better than it has any right to be. And I think that both this film and Immaculate succeed both by being like R-rated.
Mm-hmm.
I think Immaculate is R-rated, right?
Yo, yeah.
Yeah,
Dude,
it's
there's
pretty
like
nasty.
naked nuns. Remember, they're showering
And
together.
because like,
It's like-
if there's a problem with the glut of supernatural horror that we've seen for now 15 goddamn years, it's been like the whole history of our fucking show has been dealing with this shit. It's that it
Settle
like
down.
really, and you, John, started complaining about this early on. Like, if there's no corporeal threat, then what the fuck are we doing here? Like, it gets boring after a while, right? And
I did
actually,
like to say that.
I actually think that the first half of this movie suffers from that a little bit. Like, this is a personal thing. I really dislike scares that are just visions that someone's having, and then they get shaken out of it, and this person's like, "What? I don't see anything." Like the person who walks in the room to snap them out of it. You can get away with that once, but there's a lot of it in the first act, and like the movie's too damn long. John,
Yeah.
you know how long Immaculate is? Because I looked it up.
Yeah.
It is 1 hour and 29 minutes.
Yeah. It's very
And
tight,
if an hour
for sure.
50 is the devil's runtime, then like an hour 29 is like the sexiest runtime possible.
Well, this
The only
movie's
thing better
over
might
an
be,
hour
like,
50.
If I happen to see like an 85 minutes, I need a moment with myself. I'm excited.
If someone gives you a pamphlet about the movie, that's ideal.
2 hours is too long, in my opinion, and I think it's too much bullshit in the first act. The film really picks up in the second act. Like once it turns and it starts to get this sort of fever pitch, I think I'm way more in on it, and I'm much more invested. I also think, much like Immaculate, there's just a great cast here. This lead actress is great. She really sells the emotional moments. You got this weirdo dude from The Witch. He's just the best to me because he harkens back to like old school, just weird ass looking character actors.
Yeah.
And weird ass character actors are the best. You know why, John? Because regular people are weird looking. So like it just grounds you in this like reality when you get a weird little guy giving you the story.
He's
Yeah,
pretty
he
tall.
gives
I
us-
would say
He's
big guy.
got weird. Sorry, I'm using little.
He gives us that 70s craggy leading man
Dude,
vibe.
Yeah.
The voice is so there's so much gravitas to his voice. Like you are almost like you're right, Casey, because you're almost like, wait, was he in the original Omen when you hear his voice? Because he just sounds like one of those 70s actors.
Yeah.
Like just 40 cigars a day and like brandy, like that's all he lives on. No, but he is great, and I think he really like he gives the film like a grounding like a Gregory Peck would, or even I never remember the other guy's name, but this is sacrilegious, but I always think of him as the scientist from Ninja Turtles 2, Secret of the Ooze. What's that guy's name? He's like a British character actor, but he's in the original Omen. He's the priest that gets his head lopped off that's helping Gregory Peck. But again,
How do I
just
not remember the guy who played the
He's got it.
scientist in
God
Secret
damn
of
it,
the
John.
Ooze?
That's not how I would get there.
Yeah, no, exactly.
That was
He's
the most
probably
important
won
film to me
several
growing up.
BAFTA
So
awards.
Just gonna sing that Vanilla Ice song.
Professor Jordan Perry. That's not his real name though. What is his name? Someone help me out here. David Warner.
All right.
Google
know the
him.
name.
You'll know him.
Sure.
But anyway,
I mean,
it's got a great cast. Again, it's violent, and that's some movies you almost get annoyed with the violence. Like you're like, do we need this? It just feels cheap. These kind of films fucking need it because otherwise they're just they get so dry and rote.
Yeah.
But like, dude, that birthing. I don't know if that scene was like an unrated thing or if that was shown in the theater, but that's bananas. I can't remember a time in my life when I've seen a full frontal scene like that in a theatrical film. Like,
Yeah.
Not an American one. Yeah.
no, the last time I saw a movie like that, John, I was walking through the beaded curtains of a mom and pop
well,
video.
hold on. I think we've all seen a film like that in like 8th grade health class, typically, right? I
yes.
mean, you know, so
So that shit is wild, that scene. And I think I generally am with you. I really don't like prequels. Again, it's just a problem of like you know where it's going, you're just waiting for it. But what they do here that I like is that they take the most intriguing detail from the original Omen, which is like there's a whole scene where they track down Damien's lineage through. That's what they're doing throughout the film, and they find out like, oh, his father's buried in the cemetery, and it's a brilliantly shot scene. There's wind going, there's lightning happening. It's so like 70s atmospheric. They're digging it up. It's like impossible wind, like it's like hurricane wind. They're digging it up, and then they crack it open, and you just see their reaction, and then you cut to it, and it's like this chimera, like goat body thing. And it's such a fucking good reveal. Not much else is made of it after that scene, other than that he's just the son of like this demon monster, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they take that thread here and essentially use it as the anchor for the whole film, which I really love. If I have a complaint, they kind of like skimp out on showing you. Like, really, the only shot you get is in the fire at the end, and like I wanted more.
well, and in her vision, there's a couple vision sequences.
Yeah, but you don't get a
where-
full body. You get like an arm, or you get a little goat hand, or like whatever. It's just it's the most messed up, strangest, bizarre like little thread in these films, and I liked. It gave them a really good jumping off point.
That was the thing about this movie that confused me the most, and I had forgotten about that scene in the original. I forgot
It's
about
like
that.
the one thing I
reveal.
always remember from that one.
Why was it buried in a marked grave that someone could find? That's weird. Just put a pin in that, I guess. But what I was very confused if they called it a jackal, if the jackal was real, if the jackal was metaphorical.
No, in the first film, like I said, they dig the bones up. So,
Well,
like, it's
and
real.
you do see it burning in this movie. And then the whole process of like the jackal had to mate with its own child. So the jackal is also Carlita's father, and the basically the first child was a woman. Like they were having all girls, and then their theory of the case was if the jackal mates with one of its children, then it's going to have a boy.
Yeah.
Okay,
No.
so I understood
What?
it. That was the theory of the case.
Yeah, but
Because-
it did have a boy eventually.
Well,
Right.
They were all
only
girls
after
before that.
only after it was able to mate with one of
Second
its
generation.
offspring. Yeah.
Oh, so the previous attempts were not with that, and that was like trial and error until they figured.
Right.
It
No,
out.
well,
There's
so-
like, well,
yeah.
and they lead us to believe because of Cecilia, I think was the little girl's name. There's
Carlita.
Carlita. There's multiple attempts at this.
Well, we've
That
seen
have been
multiple.
done.
They
Yeah.
go. There's that whole sequence where they're going through there's like 15
The
folders.
files.
Well,
And
but
they're
no, there's
really-
like actively multiple attempts. Like they've got backups going. Obviously,
Well, I mean,
because
Carlita and Margaret are the only two that have survived past
right.
infancy, basically.
I
So
think
if it
you're
doesn't
getting at
work
a
with
point
Margaret-
which is valid, which is that it's real convoluted. Like, I'm gonna be real with you. I had a Wikipedia article open during the movie,
Oh, it's
so I
definitely
could make sense of
convoluted.
what the hell I was
Yeah.
watching.
That's what's fun.
It
because,
going
like,
to the yeah.
Go ahead, Matilda.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna
No,
say
you go ahead,
That's
'cause-
what makes that's what makes it fun is like that reveal with Carlita when everybody started freaking out. Took the sister down. I can't think of her name right now. I'm sorry. The
Wait,
main girl.
Margaret, the main one?
Yes, Margaret. Margaret got knocked down. Carlita runs to her, is trying to grab her, is screaming, and then she looks up and sees that the 666 on the roof of her mouth, and I was like, oh. And then, but then later, seeing that, oh shit, there's two. I
Yeah.
was kind of surprised by that. And
Well,
I was into it.
Don't you just, as a human, sort of have a sense of what every inch of your scalp feels like?
Well, she might have just thought she had a birthmark and not, it might never have connected with her that, I mean, I wouldn't know what the birthmark on the back of my head looked like.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
but
got
it's
a mole. I got a
raised.
mole on my
Yeah.
head I've never seen.
It's
I
raised.
can feel it.
Yeah. Eric, when you have hair, it's hard to tell what's
John.
going on back there.
Wait, is nobody like braiding this kid's hair though?
Yeah,
Yeah, I
right?
mean,
like,
yeah.
and also it's funny because the shot, and I probably a practical effect, maybe CG, but it's like you have to be able to see it, and so like they make her hair way thinner than it would be if
Yeah.
you just
Thinner.
naturally parted hair. As someone who braids an 8-year-old's hair all the time, like it literally looks like she's got no hair. Like what? Okay.
Well, like Tilly
Right, and it's
said-
kind of raised like a little keloid kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like Tilly said, having watched all the other 3 sequels, the mark's always like right here. So there's no way it would have been missed, like, you know, brushing hair and stuff. And hell, for me, you can see it'd be totally exposed.
Yeah, mine
keep
would have
in
been. I
mind-
would know by now, John. I think I'm good.
Keep in mind, though, she is being raised, like the people raising her in her orphanage,
Yeah.
and they knew what she was and were like actively
guess
trying to
that's true.
obscure it from her. So
Yeah.
I believe like she could make it to adulthood without knowing necessarily.
That's a great point because she was raised by the
Yeah.
other father.
Let me
In the
tell you the
orphanage.
thing. So let me hit the Carlita piece first, and then the thing that was like my kind of biggest part. I found the whole like Carlita ends up being basically a red herring, or if not a red, like she matters to the plot of the film, but you spend a lot of time trying to like figure out what the hell's going on with Carlita. When
It's a red herring.
yeah, I mean,
Essentially.
it isn't. I mean, it matters, right? Because it's also then revealed that they're both part of this whole thing. You know.
Yeah. And her art is pretty telling on a second
Yeah.
watch, I gotta say. It's pretty
Well,
yeah.
and how about the woman who kills herself? The drawing the baby in her stomach and then going and I mean, it's like being pretty. You're laying it on a little
Yeah.
thick there, lady. So I mean, I think just structurally, some of that stuff with Carlita, like there's a lot of emotional weight that's hung on their relationship. That yeah, I don't know. At certain points, I almost felt like I was being lied to a little bit, right? Whatever. It doesn't really matter, and in the end, it's sort of it is what it is. Like there's so much crazy shit happening, you can't even necessarily worry about it. My biggest like what the fuck? This woman, Margaret, they perform a C-section to remove the babies from her. She is up and running around within 5 minutes of this C-section. My wife had 3 C-sections. Like I was present for several C-sections. It's you don't get around super easy for a little while. She is also subsequently stabbed, sort of all within that one scene, and somehow is still able to run outside of this burning building. That to me was all just I rolled my eyes a little bit.
The
I mean,
same
I
thing
get it.
happens in Immaculate.
She doesn't know. She delivers the
Like,
baby
during that
outside.
fight.
She gets
Yeah.
stabbed, but
gets
she's still
hardcore
pregnant.
stabbed.
Look, the crazy thing there is this poor pregnant woman is like crawling through a tiny hole in this
Yeah,
in the basement thing.
You know what thought I had, John,
Mm-hmm.
during this movie? It's a little esoteric, but
That most of your thoughts are, I believe.
thank you. I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
Catholicism horror. Do you know where the real horror is, John? It's in evangelicalism. Like that's the real scourge in American society that we should be making films about. And the best I can come up with is like there's a legacy of Catholic horror, of course. So like in this case, we're remaking something, but also like Catholics just have a visual flair. You got the creepy statues and the paintings. Like evangelicalism is just like the most boring white bread fucking community center middle America bullshit. Like there's nothing beautiful. Like there's a haunting beauty to the Catholic imagery, and there just is nothing with evangelicalism.
2 millennia of architecture and shit, and so
history.
But it also to a certain, so like I get it, but also to me, well, I'm looking for something with some relevance to me, and I'm like, like Catholics are pretty.
It's all a little. It feels fusty.
I don't know. What
is the way it just. I think it's intentional to a certain extent. I agree with you.
What does fusty mean, John?
Like stuffy, like a little
musty with more dust.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's, they really...
Wait,
Catholics always have their kind of like villain outfits together for this, like Catholics really have that. Like you're saying, like there's just a flair, there's just a like...
They're like Star Wars villains.
Yes. Right, and there's like structure under the cloth, right? Like there's tailoring in this movie, like there's always that kind of thing.
I grew up Catholic. I do get it. I'm just like starving for something that feels a little more relevant to modern society.
Did you ever see was it Pure? It was a little Hulu, like one of those Hulu Into the Dark movies, I think is the way that it was released, in a Blumhouse one. That is about those like kind of, what do they call them? Like promise rings and things that like evangelical girls do with their fathers. Like the chastity balls and things like that.
So the problem to your point though about the costumes, like evangelical costume is like a like $15 golf shirt from Walmart with pleated khaki shorts. Like, pulled up over
Eric is coming on hard for evangelicals right
now.
Well,
I will say this one is in tension with Lilith. So like the chastity ball is in tension with like the goddess of Lilith. So you get better visuals than expected.
Yeah.
I would actually say Last Exorcism, which I've watched in the last year or so, is sort of a because that's
so good. Yes.
Yeah, it's more evangelically. They might think of
the
themselves
family.
as Catholic.
That guy definitely had a tent.
Yeah. Well, and it's all this like new religion-ish type stuff.
Wasn't that kind of like that Kevin Smith thing?
Sacrament?
Red State?
No. Oh, Red State.
Oh, Red State. Yeah, that was a Westboro Baptist kind of thing.
Yeah. No, John, the Sacrament is more like a doomsday.
That's like a Jonesboro or not.
It's incredible.
What was that called?
Jonestown.
Yeah. Jonestown. Yeah.
That's the crux of the problem that you presented there, Eric, though, is like John said, that there's millennia of history behind Catholicism, and you could run wild in there and make any of the connections you want to write a good movie. Evangelicals, you got like 30, maybe 40 years tops.
No, I get it. It's just like we're making the same goddamn movie over and over again. Like even though this is better than I expected, it's still the same bullshit. Like,
well, yeah,
that's why the Last Exorcism, to this 15 years later almost, stands out because it was so unique and like biting, right? And like just different.
Yeah, well, that was like a point I wanted to make about Ralph Innocent. I liked in this movie because it fit the setting of this movie of he was an excommunicated priest, but he's not set up like a crazy rebellious exorcist priest like that you would get in some of these movies where they get covered trinkets and stuff and they're all secretive and they're doing stuff under the table. He's just a priest that caught on to something that he believed in and drew him away from the rules, essentially. And I thought it was more realistic that way. But at the same time, for those movies like Last Exorcism, you got to have that rebellious priest to fill that spot.
I think the other reason the Catholic stuff works structurally, narratively, is that you have an infrastructure. Like the church is super hierarchical, so there's a lot of if
Illuminati
in,
kind of shit, right?
yeah.
Like,
Well, and there would be moments
And like
where,
political horror.
yeah.
correct.
Yeah.
There would be moments
Yeah.
where you would think to yourself, why are all these people doing this thing that seems illogical, or they're, and the answer is basically like, look, they do what the cardinal tells them to do, or they do what the pope tells. It's sort of the hierarchicalness and the authoritarian structure allows you as the storyteller to kind of like skate over some motivational issues, let's say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
sure.
And I think
mean,
there's
yeah,
a
'cause-
deeper well of just intergenerational
Yeah,
shit we have about it for those of us who have any kind of Catholic history. It's just like I was
yeah.
forbidden to be Catholic after my father was Christian Brothers, like cradle to graduate
Yeah.
school. So yeah, and I was totally fascinated with it and wasn't allowed near it. So the way I got to go near it as a kid was horror.
Interesting. I went all the way through. I got confirmed.
Did you?
I was basically an atheist by the time I was confirmed. I just hadn't really told my parents yet. And then I told my dad I was an atheist in college, and he told me I was just being a pain in the ass. Here we are, John, 20
Yeah.
years later.
And now you're gonna get a black
jokes
Phillip
on
tattoo.
him.
So
I didn't get baptized till I was 16 because my grandma bribed me with $100 if I did.
I got in trouble in like second grade catechism like class or whatever. We just go every Saturday or Sunday. And the teacher asked why we were there. And everyone was just making up like bullshit. And I was like, I'm here because my parents make me come here. I'm like, I don't know. And she got real mad and called my mom. She's not happy.
Telling
John.
it how it
that
is,
was when
lady.
I learned, John. That was when I learned Catholics don't like the truth. And that was what planted the seed in me that there was something going on.
Another thing, what was
dude who rose from the grave situation, you were totally on board for that.
what was the initiate's name again? That character that she was rooming with when she first got there, that got her to go out to the clubs.
Oh yeah, we haven't talked
Luce?
about her. Luce, yeah.
I thought she
Yeah.
was a pretty fascinating character. I mean, I thought she played the role well. At the same time, though, is from the moment she showed up, it kind of felt like, well, she's pretty obvious what her role is in the movie.
Yeah. Well, and to Eric's point, where like some of what works in this movie is seeing old like character actors being like craggy and strange looking by today's standards. This woman is like eye-wateringly beautiful, like Penelope
Yeah.
Cruz beautiful.
Yeah.
So it's a little tough. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little hard to swallow.
She reminded me a lot of the woman who's in Immaculate, but was in Lotus, like one of the one who plays the prostitute in White Lotus. I can't remember her name now. She's in Immaculate for
Sweeney?
like 5 seconds. Remember at the very
Oh.
beginning?
The Italian.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's who I was
Yeah.
like. Was she not available when they hired this? I guess you can't be in both of the nun movies at the same time. That would be weird.
That'd be awesome if she
yeah.
did, though.
Yeah, I thought Luz was good, and yeah, I mean to Casey's point, she's up so good.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
very not believable that she was going to go through with her vows after all the carousing that was going on, which was the other sign that clearly,
Yeah.
things
I
were.
felt-
And just like roasting the other sisters about like screwing the milk.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like she's really
Mm-hmm.
she's
Yeah,
not like
I know,
a
it's like
Eddie
there's-
Haskell goody two shoes in front of authority. Yeah.
There'd be a full nun that would be smacking her regularly with all the stuff that came out of her mouth as an novitiate. She'd be
Yeah.
like, no, shut up, shut up.
Yeah.
I did. I really enjoyed the scene where her gentleman friend from the club. I can't remember his name. When he gets got.
Yeah. Me too.
It's
I
just
actually-
like goofy.
Disagree because I would like to call a moratorium on surprise car slammings. Dude, it's just
So-
it's so cliche at this point.
It's the
the
70s.
surprise
Just
car-
saw one last week on the Shyamalan
Yeah.
Offspring movie.
The car slamming, I'm whatever on. Like that's neither here nor there. Her lifting him and thinking she's like helping him, and then realizing that the lower half of his body is gone. I was in for that. That part I was
Okay, that
Yeah.
scene was good.
Yeah.
That's what I meant.
It's just like, listen, you don't get surprised by a car. Maybe you
When
want
it's
to
a
tell me, like,
demon
hey,
car.
it was an electric car. You couldn't hear it. Like, okay, they have engine noises now.
Yeah,
But this
back
is what,
in
the
71.
70s? I guarantee
That's
you,
true.
you heard a 1970s car coming before it slammed
Yeah,
into you,
it's like
okay?
some diesel motor. Diesel engine.
Like,
It is Italy. Like the screech of scooters is probably covering absolutely everything in
okay,
that damn
fine.
city.
But it's like, but also you
Yeah.
have peripheral vision. Like, we don't, because we're looking at a film frame.
Yeah.
But, like, you don't, like...
But
It is-
he was clouded. His vision was clouded by the jackal, the demon.
Yeah.
Demon goat.
Cloud.
It's just a cliche. I'm just annoyed.
I also think that though, when you have like Revolutionary War stuff and you have muskets or something like the early 70s, like a large car is the murder weapon of choice
Yeah.
in a film.
I didn't know where you were
a
going.
historically
when you started talking
accurate thing.
about muskets. I was like, what is where?
It's just the
Coming around.
historically
you wanna
accurate murder weapon.
somebody, 70s car will get it done.
Yeah, and speaking of the 70s, did anybody else kind of like, I'm curious if anybody else went like straight to Roe v. Wade stuff on this one
Some of it, yeah.
through the whole thing?
I mean, it was easy to go straight to that with this and Immaculate both.
Yeah, I mean, the scene where she's asking them to help her and they're just trying to get the kid out
Yeah.
and it's utterly
it's
silent
brutal.
other
Well,
than her
and that's
cries.
exact-
It's brutal.
There's you've seen Immaculate, right? There's like an identical scene.
I have
in
not, because I
Immaculate.
saw this first and I was
And
like,
there's a
I'm
whole-
very satisfied. No, thank
Much of
you.
Immaculate's plot is set around the idea that like she's just a vessel. They don't give a shit about her. It's just the baby.
Yeah. Yeah, this one gives more weight to the mother. That's more of part of the prophecy, but
Yeah.
the only other thing I was going to say in this, while I agree with you guys, the first act of this is pretty meandering and it's a little shaky, I think, as far as getting into the flow. But once it does catch its rhythm, it's good. I really like the mysteries and the twists they kind of built into the script in this. And some of them surprised me. Like when I talked about with Margaret finding that she was the mother and the baby in the picture, I was like, oh, well, that surprised me. And Bill Nye, which we haven't mentioned,
Oh,
I
yeah.
thought he was fantastic. in
Yeah.
this. And seeing
Agreed.
his turn, I was literally like, oh,
Creepy.
I thought you just said Bill Nye. I was like, what? Did I
shit.
miss that?
Naive.
Naive.
All right. Would you recommend this, Casey?
Yes.
Jonathan?
I'm gonna say yes to.
Matilda?
Yes.
I will also say yes.
Oh, hello.
And we're going to put on my top 10.
Nice.
So let's take a quick break and do some fan mail.
Send feedback to info@bloodygoodhorror.com or on Twitter using hashtag AskBGH. Join Patreon to get back episodes and much more. Patreon.com/bloodygoodhorror.
And we're back. Comments popping off tonight, John. We might have a new record of people live in the chat. It's pretty exciting. We had some
hello.
people confirming that the full frontal scene did play in the theater.
Is it full frontal? I would have called that like lower nudity. Like,
I mean, it's not even frontal. It's like underneath. It's like full
Yeah,
undercarriage. Yeah.
it's
Undercarriage.
It's the health. It's the health class movie view, is what it is. It's
Yeah.
Man. Rachel, Eric's spitting facts tonight. It's true. This is my favorite. Liz, did John just yes and Eric? The hell?
Yeah.
I don't know what that was about. I think it was about the Catholic, my Catholic thought. Catholic horror thought.
It was accidental. I can assure you.
Yeah. And we got a bunch of recommendations for good Christian nationalist horror. Soft and Quiet.
Oh,
yeah.
yes.
Easy watch.
Actually,
That
yes.
one was good.
X, which
We
I
were-
hadn't really thought about, but that makes sense. Red State and Satanic Panic. I don't remember it in Satanic Panic, but
I don't know if did we watch Extended Paradise?
Soft and Quiet we were going to do last year, and then I kind of let you guys know it's like, wow, this one is really awkward to watch. It was good.
It's a challenge to recommend, but it's very well made. There's a More Deadly on it over on the Zombie Girls thing. That's
Okay.
me, Rachel, and Ariel talking about it.
All right.
We can recommend that.
I didn't even look at the email, John. Let's do that in real time. Where's my little thing? Info.
Could have won the lottery and we wouldn't even know.
And it's a
In
Best
the
Buy.
info at Bloody Good Horror.
Oh, that's one we skipped. Okay. Let's like my top 10. Right now I got 10 movies, John. No, sorry. I didn't mean to make you excited. I got 9 movies right now. My top, it's right now, it's from 1 down. It's Lisa Frankenstein, Love Lies Bleeding, In a Violent Nature, ISS, Immaculate, Abigail, Monolith, Humane, and Night Swim.
Quick,
gonna
what
put
is
this-
Humane about?
Humane is the one where there's like forced euthanasia.
Yeah, good.
And
Nice,
it's got
good
Mark's
memory.
doppelganger in it.
Yes. It
Jay
does.
Baruchel. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put this at number 7. I'm gonna put it just below Abigail and 2 slots under Immaculate.
Okay.
That feels fair. But I gotta tell you, like, pretty much 6 down, anything could go off this list. I feel like I would be fine.
A lot of bangers
that
coming,
puts
too.
that puts Night Swim, John, at number 10.
Hanging on for dear life.
Made it all the way to the summer solstice. What a milestone.
Yeah. Dude, you got Trap coming too, so clear the decks.
What's Trap?
That's right.
That's the M. Night movie we were talking about last week. Come on.
That's right.
In the arena.
R.I.P. Lisa Frankenstein at my number 1. Oh, Lord. All right, Casey, what do we got on the old threads?
All right, we got a couple threads out there. First up from our good friend Popcorn Designs. Why isn't John on BGH Slack? Doesn't Daddy love us?
Because he doesn't do any internet. He just refuses to. It's not... I would...
That's true.
He's a Luddite. In that
You should
sense.
maybe take it personally, but I wouldn't. Because, like, he just doesn't like being online.
It's not about any one person personally, that's for sure. Here's the thing. I am the person adding new people to the extent that when people sign up, I do go add them. So I log in and then occasionally I'll like see what's going on and I'll be like, all right, this seems crazy and I got to get out of here. But it seems like everyone's having a lot of fun. So
It's still hopping. I mean,
Yeah.
it never really reached the heights of like 2020 pandemic, but like probably
that
still
was-
the best.
it was out of control.
That went off the
That's
rails
it.
in several ways at several different junctions.
Yeah.
No, but it's healthy. We got a nice
Yeah,
little
no,
crew
for
there.
sure.
Still adding people all the time. So
Yep.
I've said this before, but when Mark and I started the original site in like 2001, what we wanted more than anything was like a hoppin' message board, because that was the deal at the time. You had like a message board, and we
Yeah.
never really could get anybody in there chatting. So it's cool. It's amazing that, you know, Slack is still kicking. Oh, we lost
Okay.
Casey and he was doing threads, so I guess it's me.
Uh-oh.
All right, let's see. Did he read any? Oh,
You're right on.
here he is.
He did the,
Oh, man.
the
It's-
why don't...
It is going to be
There you
a
go.
bitch to sync up all these files. Casey,
Pardon.
go for it.
The Edge browser sucks. Let's see. Coming from up next, the drummer from Foghat. Is this poster accurate? Is this the most terrifying movie of the year, like it claims?
Absolutely not.
No. Not even close.
I mean, it is scary. I was pleased that it was... I mean, it was scarier than I was expecting, certainly.
Yeah. I mean, it's good, but it's not the most terrifying one.
John, Jace feels lied to that you're the one who sent him his Slack invite and then you weren't actually on there.
Sorry, buddy.
Welcome
Finally,
to my world.
we've got Metal Prof. Does anyone else immediately check out of scenes as soon as it becomes obvious it's just a hallucination or a dream that the dreamer is about to snap out of?
I'm not saying it's a rule. I mean, Eric sort of was putting his foot down about this earlier. I do strongly agree. I think it can work though, right? Like it's not to say no movie has ever. I mean, fucking half of Hellraiser takes place in people's like heads, right, or at some level, or in the ether. So I don't know, but I agree. It's a little once you know that you've got an unreliable character who you're seeing things through, and then it's sort of like every scary thing that happens, it's just like, ah, all right, is this going to end with them waking up or blinking and then it's gone?
Well, it takes the right filmmaker to pull it off, right? To make those transitions into the visions real, smooth. Whereas some of them, they get lazy, and I think what Metal Prof's talking about, it becomes obvious they fumbled into it. It feels more like an exposition dump than anything.
It's like a cheap, it's like a jump scare, right? Like, I mean, it's a cheap way to kind of inject scariness when it might not be narratively important. I mean, there's a couple visions, and I actually think they're judicious in this movie because they tell you that she had these visions, but they only really go to it twice or maybe 3 times. And they have to do enough that you understand that she's going through the same stuff that Carlita is. Like, I don't know. It didn't bother me in this movie the way it does in some other movies where you're sort of like, you guys didn't have any other ideas, so you went with this. That's how it feels.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, John, I'm with you. It didn't bother me here. And it's interesting it didn't, because as I feel about it similar to how Eric feels about it, that it often takes me out of something. But here it was like, I think about those kind of moments like spicy food, like you want a little, but you don't want so much that it just takes over the whole thing. You can't taste anything else. And you're just like, yeah. Like if it's the final beat, come on, get out of here. If it was all a dream. Mm-mm.
Oh yeah, that's the worst.
Eric?
That's it for threads, Eric.
Okay. I'm tired, guys. All right, let's see. Favorite character in any horror film? That's from Levi.
What?
Oh,
I
that's
mean,
hard.
it's an easy answer, but Donald Pleasance in Halloween.
I was gonna say the Jason Alexander character in The Burning.
That is
He
good.
swims with his shirt on. Full
Pretty
head of hair.
chill.
Jason Alexander. Yeah.
He's a-
The other
he's a
one
cool
is
guy.
my real favorite actually is probably Hal Holbrook in Creepshow.
Oh, okay. Can get behind that as well. I mean, Donald Pleasance is fucking great. How about I'm gonna forget his name, but Halloween 3, fucking
Tom Atkins.
yeah. Come on.
Yeah.
Rachel says Ellen Ripley. That's a good one.
Yeah, all right. Okay.
Did you ever hear that? Did you read that story that came out about Sigourney Weaver and Alien like last year? We must have talked about this on the show. It's the best thing I've ever heard that like we must have talked about this, but like she, you know how she shoots, in that scene at the end in the rescue pod where the alien's still in there and she's got her underwear on and it's like pulled way down. It's like the weirdest looking fit on that underwear and she's like half naked, almost naked.
We
So the
did talk about
story-
this, I remember now.
Yeah, the story was that Ridley Scott was complaining that she had too much bush and wanted her to shave it, and she refused to, and did this and insisted on doing the scene with her underwear pulled down like that, and they went in and airbrushed it out of every frame. That she's
Yeah.
That's incredible.
I
boss
do
move.
remember talking about this now. I didn't know where you were going when you started, but yeah.
We got a Ash from Evil Dead here. We got Liz says Jack Nicholson from The Shining. That's a good one.
Oh yeah, I mean, come on. Classic.
The one nerdy guy from Friday the 13th Part 3. It's John's favorite.
I think Margaret White from Carrie might be mine. Mom.
If I'm picking a Friday the 13th
Yeah.
character, it's Court from Part 6, the ripped jeans heavy metal guy. That's probably my pick.
I'd have to Google that one. That's too deep a cut for me. So.
Halloween Baby says, just saw Alien in the theater. Bush was huge.
It's been digitally added back.
Release
Add
the
her-
minge cut.
That's right.
her
The George
assistant.
Lucas special edition.
All natural. Don't threaten me with a good time, John.
That's right.
Ay, ay, ay.
I could go on, but I won't.
Please don't.
Alfonso says, "Can you see the Omen set in the same universe as The Exorcist?" Oh my God.
How about the
Catholic.
Pope's Exorcist?
Yeah.
Heck yes.
Both in
That's
DC.
you could get me on board for the next Exorcist movie if you cross it over with the Pope's Exorcist.
Oh man, be so good.
Yeah, that would be pretty excellent.
One word answer: this or immaculate.
This.
I'm going immaculate.
This.
I'd probably go immaculate too, just for the length.
Ooh,
just for the length.
that's what she said. Somebody clip that out, please.
All right.
Just for the length. I pictured you more as a girth guy, John. I don't know. Oh, what are you gonna do?
Look, it's getting late, bro.
Which baby would win in a fight, Immaculate Baby or Damien? They are still babies in this hypothetical.
Dude, the immaculate baby does not last long, so
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
want to
and
spoil it for
Damien
Matilda.
became an
Mitch, You
ambassador.
might already know it. You might know it happened already, but it's
Got me
No,
thinking.
I'll
about how
watch it
babies-
before the end of the year for sure.
it's
It got me
gruesome.
thinking about how babies have those sharp ass fingernails.
Mm-hmm.
Like they go through that stage where they just grab onto anything in their reach,
Well,
and
you
they'll
gotta put the
just like,
socks on
tear
their hands.
flesh.
Yeah, because they'll scratch themselves too.
I mean, Damien was doing damage to his own mom at like 4. So
And like they don't have teeth, but they got their like goddamn snapping turtles. Dude, babies are terrifying. I swear. I'm assuming this is a joke, but Connor says they were very subtle about it. But did you catch that the baby boy at the end was Damien? I mean, that has to be a joke, right?
Putting aside my issues with how narratively it fits into the Omen universe, I did like the way they ended the movie. I just like when the priest around in his 1971 craggly voice and is like, they named him Damien or whatever he says.
I'm telling you, they were really missed out. I would have loved a single shot of like the camera pans up in the hospital room and there's Gregory Peck just all brought back to life like a ghoul.
you know, that's a
do
good.
Stop
Speaking
it.
of that scene, that's a question I always wondered. You know, if part of the modus operandi was to keep the Antichrist, you know, under the table, so so he can gain power and everything like that. Why would you name him Damien and not like Dennis?
Is Damien like a classically evil name though, or was that because of the Omen?
Yeah, I wasn't sure either, but
I don't know for sure, but I think mostly the Omen.
Yeah, so that they didn't know, you know.
Yeah.
Before then, it was totally chill. It was a cool name. And it was ruined.
Yeah. Rachel says the pyramids, Roanoke, John's love of the Pope's Exorcist are greatest mysteries. It's not a mystery. He's just hamming it the fuck up, and it's so
Russell
silly.
Crowe
Yeah.
he's having
He is
his
having the
best
time of his goddamn life. Yeah,
Yes.
it's like
Oh
you
yeah.
know, it's-
He's chewing scenery.
Ethan wants to know how excited are we for the upcoming Russell Crowe movie, The Exorcism, unrelated to the Pope's Exorcist.
So
I think it's fucking
Confused.
bananas that he's in 2 different Exorcist series.
guys, we have not discussed this prior to right this second, but it comes out this weekend, I believe.
Oh, is it?
I'm assuming we're not covering it on the show, or we're waiting for a video. I don't know.
Video. I mean, probably.
Yeah,
not,
video
Joe.
probably.
It's the middle of summer, John. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, well, I mean, we got a
Can't be in
lot
theater
coming
for
too.
every
so.
weekend for some bullshit.
But yeah,
All right. Which one of your children is the Antichrist?
that's a tough one.
That's a little strong, but there is one that's harder. I'll just say that.
Well,
We have a
in
harder
my-
one too.
In my house, it's transferred to my cat Jinx.
Well, we know how
Yeah, I was
John
going to
feels
say,
about
I
this
don't
one.
have I don't have kids, so for me, we have a cat named Fester who mostly lives in the closet, and she is named after Uncle Fester because she looks terrified at all times. Yeah, and so like you do when you're a crazy childless person, you text your partner about on things like Father's Day and Mother's Day. So I was like, Fester says Happy Father's Day, and also go fuck yourself. Like that's kind of Fester.
Adorable.
Wait, but is Fester actually poorly behaved, or you've just like sort of created a character of a poorly behaved?
Oh no. She comes out for attention between the hours of 2 and 6 a.m., during which time she stands over me and stares at me and then turns around and tries to put her butthole on my face. And other than that, she lives in the closet hissing. Because she
That
thinks
cat
we're all
would be on the
assassins
street.
the other 20 hours.
Very quickly.
Her brother and her mom also live here. So
The matter.
I had cousins who like took in like a feral cat basically, and they were trying to kind of domesticate it, and like it wasn't neutered yet. I assume they were getting around to it or whatever, but this thing would just hide around corners and wait till you like turn the corner, and it would like try to trip you.
Oh
Or,
yeah.
like attack you. Cats are fucking crazy. I don't get it.
Jinx does that. He's fixed.
Yeah.
It's nothing to do with it.
All right. Polly Muller, should this be the last Omen or like the first of many new Omens? Don't make more.
I don't
please.
need more. It's okay to have one good thing and be done.
yeah, it's why I don't even need immaculate. You know what I mean? Like I feel done for
yeah.
this year.
Roger, what is your song of the summer?
God, I wish I had the brain space to come up with a song in summer.
I'm constantly
Yeah.
listening to music that's like 2 or 3 years old, so I don't have like a current song.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you listen
2
to?
or 3.
Yeah, I listen to
Things
new
that
music.
are 40
but
years
it's not-
old.
I listen to new music, but it's not. I'm usually catching up by like a couple of years. But yeah, I'm always listening to new stuff.
I have
can't-
been enjoying the new Dua Lipa album. We listen to a lot
There
of
you
Dua
go.
Lipa while we're driving.
That sounds like a
and
summer.
I don't know which one would be my song of the summer yet, but I'll work on it and get back to you. My kids are very into a song. I don't know how they found it, called "Squirrel in My Pants." Is this like a thing? It's
Lord.
SIMP simp, which I think is like its own thing. I don't even want to know.
Yes. Yeah.
And yeah, so "Squirrel in My Pants."
Good lord. That's definitely a summer jam. John, Dua Lipa. I got a recommendation. Let's see. What am I listening to right now? I mostly listen to just the most goddamn depressing music you've ever heard in your life. I discovered this guy named Conan Gray, and he has an album called Found Heaven that is all like it's like throwback. It's like a whole album of 80s hair metal ballads. Basically.
Oh, that's cool.
He's young. Like he can't be 25. Like he's a young dude. But the production on it, as far as like the nostalgia part of it, is like spot on. It's really good.
Are they?
I'm really
they're earnest?
fascinated
They're
by,
not-
like-
It's not like the darkness,
It's
like
it's
where
earnest.
they're
It's
tongue
very
in cheek.
earnest.
It's earnest. That's amazing. It's like historical reenactment hair metal.
Well, what's fascinating
this
about it is
point.
it's a person who was not around for it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He was
Yeah.
probably born in the year 2000 or some shit. Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing.
Good.
Now I'm just thinking about when I saw Winger and Slaughter together.
Man, Winger. Hell yeah, dude. That's awesome. My brother was born in 78, and so he was like a kid in the 80s, but was very into hair metal. So I was exposed to like so much fucking hair metal. It's great. And I love a ballad, just in general. So like
Wow.
hair
Yeah.
metal ballads, where it's at. Like
Yeah,
that
like an
Whitesnake
18 in
song-
life. Come on.
Yeah, or the Winds of Change. Oh my god, Waterworks.
That was a CIA psyop, though. So
What
you got that?
was it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's a whole podcast. about
Yeah.
that, you know.
Rachel might have a story about that song. You should ask her.
I will.
I don't know that I don't think it's ever been confirmed it was a psyop. That's like there's definitely that is a thing.
It's good.
Yeah.
Anyway, I guess that's it. Oh,
Okay.
Last quote, just Caitlin from Plug It Up. Even I am tired of monstrous motherhood. So
It could be tiring, I can see that.
Oh yeah, it's a heavy subject.
love it. All right. Do we know what we're doing next week if we're not doing this Russell Crowe thing?
Well, you've been stomping for I saw the
Glow.
TV.
Yeah.
Eric, I'm concerned. Have you looked how long it is? I think it might be the devil's length or longer. I'm concerned.
Yeah, and have you seen that filmmaker's first film?
We're all going to the World's Fair, I think.
Yes, I
Something like it.
loved it. I also have concerns about you all.
It's an hour 40.
Okay. All right. So I thought it was longer than that. Okay.
Okay.
Hour 40 can be okay, but it's not guaranteed. So we'll see.
It's on notice.
Because if you think about it this way, let's
happy
say
to watch it,
if
but-
you have an hour 40 could be
I'm not worried about you.
an hour 40 could be each act, right? Is shaggy by 2 to 4 minutes. That can get you to an hour 40. That's not crazy. The problem with hour 50 is it's almost always because you have a weird appendage at the end, as covered.
Or
At
a
length
very
last
long
week.
first act.
Yes.
I feel like that happens too. But yeah, sure. Okay. It's on. It's.
I
Streaming.
really loved them. Yeah.
I like that term,
It's-
an extra appendage tacked on to the end.
Dude, well, that's our whole conversation last week. That was a movie with just the worst kind of appendage at the end of it.
Where it's is it on Shutter? It's streaming. I know it's available.
I believe it is on Shudder.
Okay.
If not, it will be. But yeah, it is because they just covered it on Slack on the Watch and Chat channel.
Okay. Well, there you go.
And then John, I keep thinking of you. Yeah, you can rent it right now. I keep thinking of you because, I keep getting ads for the new Yorgos movie with Emma Stone.
Kinds of Kindness. Yeah.
I'm afraid because it looks like the old kind of Yorgos movie that I don't
Yeah.
like.
Well, I
So,
don't think
like-
it's getting. From what I can tell, it's not getting like a wide release. It's getting a bit more of a. I might try to see it this next, just to get out of the house and do something.
I'm a little nervous about it, but
So
is it horror?
Just so
Probably, maybe not.
say again.
Is that like a genre movie? I don't even know what it's about. I can't
I
even tell what it's
don't-
about
I
from the
don't-
goddamn previews.
I think it's a. I read that it is a triptych. There's like 3 sort of segments, and if you go to IMDb, it's listed as like drama, comedy, thriller. Like it's one of these like everything kind of things. Let's just hit really quick. So we're gonna do Saw the TV Glow. We then have Quiet Place Day 1, and then Maxine, and then Longlegs. So we're gonna be back in the theater for
Wow.
3 weeks if we're covering those
John.
all back to back.
John, let's have a moment of silence for Night Swim.
I mean,
I think
it's
we're in
not
the
getting
final
through that
days.
gauntlet. Let's just say.
Right. I love that. I love the setting up potentially 3 of the best films of the year as specifically a gauntlet that Night Swim has to take on.
Yeah, there's no way. I
The
know I
night
texted-
swim centrism of this podcast has become concerning to me.
I mean, yeah, it's gotten a lot more press than it deserves. I am going into day 1, the Quiet Place, with like the biggest chip on my shoulder about a movie I've had in so long, because that trailer has been running for a fucking year in front of
Yeah.
every movie I've seen. I've seen that trailer 50 times in the
I don't
theater.
watch
It makes me
trailers.
crazy.
I sit on my phone. So
But
I don't
like,
really
wait,
have
you
that problem.
can't like, I don't know. You just like, you're in a theater. It's like,
It doesn't register.
I refuse to look up.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I just tune it out.
Oh
No?
my god.
This is
Yeah.
the same guy that can fly cross country staring at the back of the seat in front of him. So
Can't pay attention in a 90-minute podcast, but I can stare at the back of a seat for 2 hours in an airplane. So
You
you
can?
figure me out, John.
Oh my god.
You know.
It's the noise of the engines. It's so relax. I just like meditate. I just like relax and think about stuff.
There's layers, Matilda. We're still peeling.
Yeah.
The onion is still getting peeled.
Yeah.
So,
Uh,
yeah.
I'm a mystery wrapped in an enigma, John.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Well, Quiet Place. Can't wait.
So next
We
week, next week I saw the TV Glow. Thank you to all of our live stream viewers hanging out. No bingos this week. I think we're gonna adjust the cards a little bit. We were chatting about it during the show, John. But yeah, come hang out with us on Slack. Go to patreon.com/bloodygoodhorror. All right, y'all. We'll talk to you next week.
See you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.